Thank you for being here. I would have liked to see a lot more people, but I think this is okay. Now, great speeches this morning. I hope you enjoyed all the presentations. It's hard to fill those shoes, but I think we have a great story that you can connect with what we've gone through. Now, I think about the presentations this morning. I should change my title from automation boring to automation sexy or something like that. So how many of you here from customer, not Tricentis, but I want to see, because customers can truly resonate with our story, can connect with our story. Great. So we used to be Vantiv, one of the largest US credit card payment processing company. We've recently acquired a company called Worldpay, which is based out of UK, the largest payment processing company in UK. So collectively now we are world's one of the largest payment processing company. Just to give you a context before getting into our journey, we process 40 billion transactions annually, collectively. We process $1.5 trillion worth of volume. Also, as you can see, we operate in 146 countries. We process 126 currencies, 300 plus payment types. So that gives you a context, right? So even as a Vantiv, before Worldpay acquisition, we used to process 25 billion transactions annually. What that translates into, every second during normal business hours, we process few thousand transactions. So you can imagine if one of our critical systems go down, the impact is tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Just want to give you that context. We are a heavy transaction processing company, so the automation is very important. In spite of all that, again, we've grown pretty rapidly through acquisitions and organically. We've inherited systems from a lot of companies that we've acquired. So we have technologies anywhere from 40-year-old mainframe with assembler to some of the latest and greatest cloud, API, SaaS-based packaged applications. In spite of all that, about 2.5 years ago when I moved into QA, leading the QA, this is where we were. Lack of QA processes. There is a big story for that, but this is where we were. We were not present as a QA team in every team. We have very minimal end-to-end testing, if any. We have people in the team, but it's not really a team in the sense there is no structure, no clarity of responsibilities, who does what. And obviously no automation. With that long testing cycles, high cost, QA is a bottleneck. Then we started a QA transformation. So we have two levels of transformation. We'll talk about it. Automation. Also QA as a whole transformation. We looked at it, people and culture, bringing clarity, responsibility, accountability, who does what, because we support all sorts of testing, right? Anywhere from except unit testing all the way to the user acceptance testing. Again, looking at the processes, when do you do what type of testing? How do you approach those testings? The processes, how do you onboard people? All of that. And technology, coming into technology, bringing clarity into what tools do we use and what tools are used for what. So we had to streamline the technologies. And when at that time, we knew that we had to go to automation. Automation is the future. We are a fast-growing company. We had to compete in the marketplace. And we got to deliver the products before anybody else. And the only way you can do it is you've got to automate some of your delivery cycle, and definitely automation. And we chose Tosca for the reasons that you see here. One, it's technology agnostic, because we have the technology landscape that spans, like I said, for the last 40 years. Feature-rich, we'll talk about it in the subsequent slides. Script-free, which is very, very important for us because we have had a 100-member team, and none of the team knew automation. We had no automation, and then good portion of that team is from offshore providers. Not a lot of experience. So how do you transform that team and that setting to an automation and continuous testing model? We can't go get a script tool and expect everybody to learn. Our goal is not to master the technology. Our goal is to deliver faster. Technology is means to that end, right? So the script-free tool helped us there. Obviously automation-centric, and the tool is easy to use. And the way we went about the journey is, so 3 years ago we got the tool. We bought 15 licenses. And we did a proof of concept with multiple technologies. That worked out really well. Then we made the decision to buy enterprise licensing agreement. What that is unlimited licenses. So then we identified all the critical applications in the company. We've automated all those regression backlogs. Then we moved to continuous integration, continuous testing, now working on continuous delivery model. Again, a lot of detail, a lot of work went into each one of those steps. We can't cover that in the half-an-hour meeting here, but talk to us after the meeting. We can explain and answer the questions. So these are the capabilities that we've implemented in a short time, relatively short time. Today, we have unattended distributed execution. We run thousands of test cases overnight. We use exploratory testing. The direction for the team is automation. There is no manual testing, right? So either you're automating or you're doing exploratory testing. So automation also, automation first. So very first time you test something, you automate and you test it using automated fashion. Absolutely no manual testing. Where there are exceptions, exploratory testing. We have few exceptions for manual testing where the applications are being retired, non-go forward, we don't want to invest there. Other than that, no manual testing. Orchestrated service virtualization. So it's an advanced feature, so we've demonstrated that as well. So TDD and BDD, I want to talk about that for a second, is that Tosca allows us to do that. So we have Tosca integrated with other tools, requirements tool, defect tracking tool, CI tool, automated deployment tool. With that, requirements automatically, user stories automatically flow into Tosca. Now you can start defining test cases before your actually development is available for testing. So that's basically the TDD concept. We have to improve on it, but we are using some of those practices there as well. Tool integration, like I said, Tosca is integrated with other tools and CI tools. We are also using Excel release, Excel deploy for automated deployment, which is then again integrated with Tosca to trigger the smoke suites and stuff the moment deployment comes into the environment. The one capability that I want to highlight is a recent success that we've had is big data testing automation. So you know now the amount of transactions that we process, we have a huge data, right? So even though we have Tosca, we evaluated multiple tools. We chose Tosca as the tool of choice. Now we are testing all layers of big data flow, ingestion, transformation, data marts, and reporting. And one feature that I want to talk about is the Tosca Vital Checks Wizard. What that is that it lets you build test cases, drag and drop. You don't need to know the scripting. You don't need to know the SQL. It saves a lot of manual effort. It's been very helpful for us, building automation that we've done so far. And just some early success on big data testing, 200 million values, we were able to compare, do data validation in 20 minutes. And that's just initial success with basic infrastructure. We expect it to scale to billions of comparisons with few minutes. And I think we see the potential there. And again, with 40-year-old I think background here, we have lots of source systems and technologies. So with that, I want to hand it over to Sandra to cover the details of the automation and the journey that we've gone through.
Great, thank you. I'm not sure if this is on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about get into some details about the continuous delivery and how our team has started to enable that and work towards the continuous delivery. Raj talked about the capabilities implemented, and we've had quite the journey over the past few years. We're currently able to run smoke suites on a daily basis. They're unattended, they're scheduled, and they just run on their own. We've implemented the distributed execution, and we're also working on how we can get that into the cloud environment, virtual machines, and scale up to our test automation that we are working towards. We're very agile. We have agile teams that we support, and we've made a huge progress over the last couple years. However, with any implementation, there were some challenges. And I forgot to grab the... So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of those challenges we had, how we changed what we were doing and improved what we were doing to serve the teams better. So some of the things that we struggled with was how do we automate so many test cases? Mark mentioned hundreds, thousands of test cases that we had. How do you do that and make that successful? Where do you start? And we were just focused on creating automated test cases. We also were focused on creating those test cases, and we had kind of a centralized team to do so. And then the accountability really wasn't in our agile teams to own those test cases and build those further out. We also talked a little bit earlier today about the automating of bad processes. We were just automating the manual test cases that we had and maybe not taking the time to really understand what's the right thing to do. So we had to make some decisions, make some changes to what we were doing so that we could be more successful. That's where we started to go, what can we improve? How do we really improve so that we're able to utilize what we've built? We've now built thousands of automated test cases. Do they run? I believe that's already been mentioned earlier today. You have all of this test set, but can you execute them? How do you improve your knowledge transfer? How do you ensure that the teams are taking the accountability of those test cases? We increased the exploratory testing. As Raj mentioned, we are really getting away from the manual testing. We don't want to be manual testing so that we can support the automation and make that a priority within our teams. The exploratory testing has been a huge, benefit to our team so that they could still quickly do their testing for the user stories, but then also focus on the automation, automating as they go within the sprint, as Raj mentioned. We've also improved our test case design. We've had workshops. We do tons of training. We train our teams every month. We will identify issues or problems, and we'll come up with training for our teams so that we can help them improve their processes as well. We've also optimized our regression testing. So we've had some failures where we automated in thousands of test cases for an application, and that wasn't necessarily the right thing to do. But we recognized that, and we made the changes, and we decided to do the right thing. So doing the right thing, we kind of focused on the execution, shift from creating to the maintenance of those test cases and the execution of those test cases. As you can see, these are actual graphs that we have that we share with our teams to show we really weren't creating as many test cases. We were focusing on those test cases, being able to execute those. Even back in December was where we kind of made some decisions on, are we automating the right things? Let's focus on what we should be automating and make that work well for us. We talked about automation first. This was a new process that we were introducing to our teams. We focused in the sprints to automate, and we brought in our architects to review the test cases as they were being built. This was a huge benefit. Having an outside script or test case review going each sprint ensured that we were building good quality test cases that were able to be executed, and we reduced the false failures that we were experiencing. We have regression suites running every sprint for our teams, and I mentioned also every day we run smoke tests as well. If anything fails out of that, the teams take action and they address those failures as they occur. So we also provided metrics to our leadership team and just to our entire quality assurance team as well. We focused on making sure that the test cases passed, and this is actual data from our teams. And so we went from 54% passed when we were executing. We built thousands of test cases. We try to execute everything, and we realized, we've got some problems. So we focused on making sure that those were running, and we were able to increase since October to over 90%. We also we went from 25% of the test cases that we had built were actually being executed on a monthly basis to over 90%. These were huge wins for the team. They've really focused on at least 80, if not 90% plus execution and pass rate every sprint. And that's been a huge benefit. Now they see the benefit of the automation. Everybody, the teams, the leaders, everybody's getting that benefit because it's running and it's successful. We provide a dashboard as well. We are in agile, safe trains that we have, and so every month we provide that information as far as how the teams are doing, where there might be some problems that need to be addressed. This is, again, actual, last month's dashboard that we had. So percent automated executed, we've got nearly 100% on all of our trains, which has been a huge difference over the past few months. And so with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Raj to talk a little bit more about our challenges and just overall themes that we addressed.
Oh. Thank you, Sandra. So I think you can see, there are some numbers that we didn't show for proprietary and confidentiality reasons. But I think you can see a lot of detail. We spend a lot of time in processes, metrics, and that rigor and the discipline, and then continued message to the teams to increase the automation. Now, quickly, I want to cover some high-level challenges, right? So from the culture standpoint, early on, when we took on this about 2.5 years ago, automation was QA's initiative, right? So, but automation is not just QA responsibility. We've got to work with our development partners, delivery owners, product owners. And that partnership was hard in the beginning. It's always seen as it's a QA thing, right? So we've overcome that. It's a slow process, but demonstrate some early wins, and then you gain some credibility, and you get there. And there was some confusion in the team about automation versus testing. Automation was always something different. I'm still going to do my testing, but automation is this small portion. No. Testing is automation. Automation is testing, right? So everything that you test can be done through automation, and then try to get to that mindset. Clarity of ownership, Sandra talked about it. Teams struggle to shift for a while, because when a leader talks about a direction, sometimes people continue to do their own way, their challenges, their day-to-day deadlines. It took a while for the team. It's not going away, so we have to adapt. Even though all of our team members go through certification and training and all of that, the true automation mindset is different. As opposed to just convert a manual tester into automation, they can automate, but then the mindset shift has to change for automation to really, really work well. We still have challenges about upgrades and major applications, but through test case design that Sandra talked about, we were able to overcome that. And we have now, we leveraged. So another thing, what worked well, we want to quickly touch on that, right? So leadership and vision. For any major transformation to work well, you need an executive champion, you need a change leader. And we had that. And with that, we had a leadership commitment across QA. Sandra Advait is another leader, and other team leaders, and Wendell Payne, who is here, who manages tools team. All of us are fully committed to making this work. And we made this a priority. Every meeting that we go to, we tell the team over and over again, automation, we got to get there. That doesn't mean that we didn't have challenges. We are a fast-growing company. We have hard deadlines, but we never shifted from that message, because this is what happens in the companies, right? So there are lots of challenges, lots of urgent needs, and then you shift that to, hey, let's get this done because it's due tomorrow. Then you're taking distraction, and then people are not paying attention to automation. So we never really took eye on that long-term goal of getting to automation. Tricentis relationship and support, that is key. Tricentis has been with us every step of the way and helped us get there. And I say that Tricentis is part of our culture. And I also know that everyone in Tricentis knows who Vantiv is. That's the type of relationship that we grew with. We've learned a lot from Tricentis. We started with automation. We learned about continuous testing and continuous integration. We advanced every step of the way. And for any transformation to work, one of the things that worked well for us is that we demonstrated early wins. We excited the rest of the organization. Then we scaled it out enterprise-wide. Also, the communication. As they say, anytime you're working on a big change or transformation, you have to communicate 7 times 7 different ways. Actually, the reality is you have to communicate a lot more and a lot more different ways. And we've done that. Lunch and learns, webinars, workshops, newsletters, learning sessions, whatnot. And it took us a while to make that mindset shift and also get to that maturity levels. And strong partnership with tools team. Wendell manages tools team. And we had great relationship that now he became part of my team. So we are also now taking on DevOps journey. Learning and pivoting quickly. I think you've seen that from Sandra's slides. We've constantly learned. We made mistakes. We've constantly learned, and we pivoted quickly, and we continued to mature. And as you can see, we didn't just stop at automation. We continued to advance. We are never satisfied. We pushed into big data, virtualization, TDD, BDD practices, continuous integration, now DevOps, right? So that's another way to go ahead. I think we are in a great place today. It's a powerful story, in my opinion, because we didn't take 5 years. We took about 2.5 years here. And you can see from absolutely no automation to where we are. Now we are working on DevOps and continuous delivery. And automation is working well for most part. And recently we had a DevOps assessment that we've done by an external company. And testing came out to be real strong in that. And that was no surprise. And we wouldn't be in that place if not for the last 2+ years of work. And also, testing is not a phase. That is where we are trying to get to. I think today, from functional testing standpoint, testing is not a phase. And what I tell my team is when development is done, testing is done. Testing should not take any more time. And that is happening in functional testing. But end-to-end testing, we take a little bit more time. But we're trying to get there with automation and continuous testing and continuous integration. And in our team, all testers can automate. That is the model. Everybody can automate. Everybody can do exploratory testing. And everybody is Tasker certified, including me, right? So you can't tell your team, walking the walk, right? So I think we are in a great place. It's a powerful journey. With that, if we have any time, we can take some questions.
Hi, my name is Sonia. My question is about the maintenance of the scripts.
Here, let me get the mic over here just a minute,
Yeah.
Raj.
Thank you. I'm from JetBlue. So my question is how often the maintenance happened and how long that took?
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, so the maintenance of the automation, the test cases?
Correct, because that's the most challenges that
Yeah.
we have faced.
Right. So that's what we were talking about before, where we're focused in the sprint to maintaining those test cases. We're executing them every sprint, and anything that we get out of that that's a failure, we address immediately, and we resolve those within the sprint. So the automation is done along with development team. They're executing, they're resolving any failures that happen. The test case reviews as well have kind of helped us to be able to be more successful with the way that we've designed our test cases so that we ensure that that maintenance is as small as possible. So we definitely had some learning to do there to make sure that we're building the right thing. The workshops that Tricentis has come in and helped us with has really helped to improve that time and everything. If you're the test case design, if you're looking at it the right way, then the maintenance will reduce significantly.
Sandra, question with regards to the maintenance. Have you guys quantified it at a cost point?
Yeah, so we do. So the question is, have we quantified the cost? We are not showing that some of those metrics that we are not showing here, but we have a monthly executive dashboard that we used to publish, that we published how much we saved every month by running automation instead of doing it manual, and it's a very substantial number.
So, and related to that, so you did your POC, and based on your POC there, you put forward a percentage save. With regards to the tool and the execution now from a model aspect, greater or less, or spot on to what you proposed in terms of the value add?
It's
And I'm not asking for a direct number, so say hypothetically through automation you said, hey, I'm going to save about 30% of my testing budget. That equated to something. Was that 30%, 35%, 25%, 15%?
Go ahead, yeah.
So one of the things I just wanted to mention to that is that one of the benefits that we gained wasn't just cost savings, it was also coverage. So previously, we were not running our regression suites. We were just putting stuff out in prod and praying it worked, right? So, this really we've got over 20 applications that we're now able to regression test regularly. And so that's really where a lot of the benefit came from, is being able to, broaden our coverage and stay agile with the teams, be able to provide the full regression testing every sprint. So that's really been a huge benefit. And like Raj mentioned too, so how we quantified a lot of that is, had we done the right thing to begin with, this is how much it would have cost, right? So sometimes it's a difficult thing to kind of show, because you're increasing your coverage instead of just blanketly reducing that in cost and stuff, but you're getting that saving by being able to implement other capabilities, the service virtualization, the BI. These are all things that we didn't have before, right? So you're just able to cover a lot more, do a lot more, advance the technology much further.
I think we got
And
time
I
for
think,
one.
yeah, and
one
then
more.
I know the answer too. I mean, the numbers are definitely higher.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, my name is Siva. We're just starting our test automation journey. Our biggest challenge is test data management. So I'm pretty sure you might have gone through
Right.
this. How did you manage that?
So I can start, you can add to it. Sandra manages test data management too. We have IBM Optum tool that does obfuscation completely before Tosca journey there, because we deal with huge production data, and we have a good system there. But we also leverage TDM component of Tosca. While I think the usage is somewhat limited in Tosca, there is two components to it. Day-to-day testing, you use Tosca TDM, but the whole test data management needs across the organization, we have the other tool.
Yeah, and I mean, really, we just, one of the things that we try to do is create the data that we're going to use in the testing. So that really reduces issues with test data when you're able to just create we'll use APIs to do so. So we'll use an API, create the data that we need to use in the test case, and then continue to test. So that's kind of, if we can, we try to create it just for that scenario. That way it reduces. But we definitely have, that's our next focus as well. And I sat in on the test data management yesterday, and very excited to see some of that, and hope to be able to utilize some of that in the future as well.